you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
all in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Playing on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. The Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy.
The Stanley Cup winning Colorado Avalanche And after 22 years, Raymond Mark!
The sickest NHL podcast. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind. It's gonna be sick.
And welcome to another edition of the Eye Test here on the Sick Podcast Network. And to all our friends in the United States, happy Memorial Day weekend. And to all who have sacrificed for us and continue to sacrifice for us, thank you very much. We appreciate all you do here on this Memorial Day weekend 2024. And before we got our guests lined up right now, but before we do, I want to play this interesting clip because I think people forget that our next guest is a movie star.
Hey, you can start. 69 on the shirt, eh? Glasses. I know. Name on the back. Mine, do you mind? Hat? I can't stop. It's like caress.
Hey, wanna go? Yeah, okay. Good luck, man. Good luck to you too, buddy.
Puck drops, and yes, we are going to have a dust. Punch for punch, neither giving an inch. Both still on their feet. Right, left. Both going at it. Both landing blows to the head, to the body, everywhere.
Oh, God. Good fight, man. Good fight. He's a nice guy.
And that, of course, is former NHLer and, as I said, movie star George Laraque joining us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. How you doing, my friend? You remember that?
Very good. Yes, of course I do. How you guys doing?
Good.
George, good to see you.
Nice to see you too, bro.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So what was it like to throw fake punches after all the real punches you had thrown throughout your career?
Well, you know what's funny is Sean William Scott, when I did the shooting scene with him, he didn't work at skating at all. He didn't practice at all. The other actor, Liev Schreiber, he actually practiced skating.
Yeah.
So a lot of skating, he actually was doing it. Sean William Scott didn't practice skating, so he couldn't skate. So when we fought with my right arm, I had to hold them up so he wouldn't fall down when he was trying to punch. The first time we did it, you're supposed to throw a punch that probably this far away from the guy's face.
Right.
But he punched me in the face because he has no balance.
Oh, jeez.
So when he punched me in the face, I kind of let him go with my right arm. And when I let him go, he went down. And I looked at him and was going to kill him. It's just a reflex that you have that is like the face. So I was like, oh, my God, I got to get him. So when he was laying on the ice and I looked at him, I was like, oh, my God, this is Stifler. I cannot kill him.
Yeah.
So then I stopped. I stopped. But, yeah, it was insane.
Good stuff, my friend. Well, let's get to hockey, though. Your former team, the Edmonton Oilers, with a huge double overtime win, compliments of a Connor McDavid overtime goal. George, just your thoughts on the run that this team is on, but more specifically, how they have matured as a playoff type team, if you know what I mean.
Well, to be honest with you, I think it was more the depth that was missing on that team because, you know, look at the numbers of Connor and Draisaitl are doing, you know, historical number, you know, you compare their numbers to the time in the 80s where, you know, everybody was scoring like so many points, right? It's remarkable. So it was never their fault. So we could say that since they've been there, this is the best team that the Oilers have. The only question mark that I have with this team is in goaltending. Mm-hmm. And in game one, Skinner surprised me. He surprised me and he did as good as Ottinger. We don't need him to be dominator, but if he's playing as good as he did yesterday, he's going to give the Oilers a chance. Mm-hmm. So since he's been replaced, since he came back from being a backup to Pickard, he's been 3-0. So hopefully he keeps it up because the Stars is a really good team. And I know most people are picking the Stars to beat the Oilers. I picked the Oilers in 7. But man, if Skinner could keep it up, I think we do have a legitimate chance to beat them.
Hey, George, you spent a lot of time in the Edmonton area over the course of your career, both as a home team guy and a visiting team guy. Can you explain to our viewers and listeners what the energy's like in the city when the team's in a playoff run like this?
Yeah, you know, that's why a lot of guys love playing for Canadian teams because the energy when you're playing Canadian teams, the fans, they paint their face, they're outside on the street cheering for their team. it Edmonton is breeding for the Oilers right now. Everybody's like supporting, and the players could hear the fans outside the rink because there's so many of them cheering. There's billboards everywhere. And Edmonton is so special because, you know, the fans, they take it to heart. They love their team. They chant for them all the time. The national anthem, we're the first fan that started singing it when the guy just hold the mic and he stopped singing it. It is amazing, the noise and when we score, the energy and everything, and then the other teams kind of copied us after. They look at what the other side are doing. They're like, oh, we have to bring that same energy. But you know, in the old building, it was even better because the sound was kind of staying inside, and it was even louder. And now the building is so much bigger now. The sound is still loud, but not as big because it's not, the configuration is different. But the fans in Edmonton, they're so proud of their team. The support that they have throughout the city, they're behind them 100%, and you could feel that energy, and it surely give us an advantage when we play at home.
George, looking over to the East Conference final, they got game 2 tonight at MSG. Rangers and Panthers. There's a lot of talk. We don't know if it's for sure yet. It looks like it's going to happen that Matt Rempe will go in the lineup. We all know there's not much fighting in the playoffs, but what are your thoughts on him and what he can still bring to the lineup in what already is a very physical series?
26-1-2 is the Rangers' record when Rempe's in the lineup.
Wow.
Rempe doesn't have to fight. It's okay. He's an intimidating force with his shoulders. He knows how to play physical. He's an intimidating force when he's out there. And playoff hockey is like, it's physical. Why don't you have him out there playing physical, being a havoc, against Florida? He knows he has to be disciplined, not take stupid penalties. Bonus goal the other day. He could be a force out there. Even if you play 5 or 6 minutes, just having his presence in there and stuff makes the team play bigger, even if there's no fighting. I like the fact that he plays with an edge. He's a physical force. He could be intimidating. He understands his role. Yes, he's young, but you know what? The dimension that he gives to a team, I like it. I would play him in the playoff, and you know what? You dictate things. You put him out there and stuff, and you make sure that if there's a lineup, a matchup that you want to do, he comes off as a top line that is there. But just with the way that he's playing physical against D-man, he took out a D-man against Toronto. Like he took out another D-man the other game. I don't remember who it was again, but with physical play, he's a threat. He's a threat. Why wouldn't you want it out there when it's so physical? And he could skate too. People say, oh, he needs to improve hockey-wise. He's young. He has time to improve. But the one thing I could tell you, he doesn't have to improve his physical play. In the playoff, it's physical. You having the fourth line bring energy to the game and go out there and stuff and play physical as it is, it gives energy to his team, that's for sure.
Hey, George, you were a feared guy when you played in the league. Nobody really wanted to mess around with you. How would you, if you were playing for the Rangers now against Florida, how would you try to change the momentum of the series if you were playing for the Rangers?
Yeah, so the thing is, the first game, as you know, like things happens and stuff. They lost, and then but you have to get back to the winning streak because you can't go back 2-0 against that team. You need to be back winning, right? So me and I was fortunate enough in the playoff to be playing in a playoff too, because as you know, many tough guys don't play in a playoff. So what I would do is just the energy when you play physical is like the entire team reads off that. Like, so I just play as hard as I can, crash and do thunderous hits and be disciplined all the time. And when you do that, and guys are seeing that, and you see skills guy doing it too. You see, like sometimes in a playoff they say that guys have to do something out of their element. I had the odd goals in the playoff that happens, and then you'd see Doug Waite throwing a big hit, and then people would be like, oh my God, even Doug Waite is hitting, so I should doing it too. So it's all doing something out of your element that will elevate your team.
Perfect.
So it's just that giving room and maybe finding ways that, you know what, tonight, guys, our fourth line, let's score goals. Nobody expects us to score a goal. They just expect us to hit. Let's find a way to cycle down and score. Because if your fourth line scores a goal in the playoff, you're going to win the game.
It's huge.
Yeah, it is huge. So that was a mindset. Play deep down and stuff, tired out the opposite D-man, and then, things could happen.
go from there. George, before we let you go, I know that we have a lot of Montreal listeners, by the way, and you have a card store up that way. You want to tell everybody about it?
Yeah, well, I've been collecting cards since I'm 13 years old. It's crazy to see that. And actually, when I was playing hockey, that was my way that was able to buy hockey gears
Oh, wow.
because my parents didn't want me to play hockey, didn't support me that well. It was too expensive. So what I would do is I would collect cards and sell them to the store to buy hockey equipment so I could play. And
Wow.
since it was a passion since I was a young kid, I have a sport card store that in Montreal that, no, we're doing pretty good. It's fun. It's a relaxing hobby that I've always loved. And yeah, it's fun trading and stuff and meeting people with that and stuff. So yeah, it's just with the job and all the stress that I had doing that, I needed something that I could just relax sometime and being more low key because
Yeah.
the pressure of the job that I had, the anxiety that it gives you and everything, it's insane. And I feel so fortunate that now that I'm done, that my head is clear, no concussion, no problem. And yeah, so now I'm just enjoying life and having fun.
Where is the card store in Montreal?
Oh, it's in Laval. And in Laval, in Carré-Laval, it's called All Time Sport Collection.
Okay.
And
Great.
yeah, I've been in there for years and it's lots of fun. So if you like, I post the days that I go in there because when I do autograph session pictures with people because I'm not there, as you know, on an everyday basis. I'm there like maybe once a month on a Saturday. I'll go there. A client come and see me to sign pictures and stuff. But I have partners that works for me that are there. But I'm like you guys, I'm on the radio every day. I'm in the media and stuff. So I don't have time to go to the store every day. That's for sure.
Good stuff, man. I used to collect them myself, and I'll never forget. I came home from my first year at college for the summer, and I had a huge booklet, all sorts of baseball cards, hockey cards. I had like a rookie Gretzky in there, rookie Roger Clemens, Pedro Martinez. So I come home and it's gone. And I said, what's going on? My brother sold it. Just without telling me, sold all the cards. I'm like, are you kidding me? What those would be worth today, I have no idea, but he owes me one. But I know that you can get some pretty good money with some of these cards, and it's a fun thing to collect for sure.
Yeah.
So, Joe, appreciate you joining us.
Anytime. Thank you for having me. And
Thanks, George.
it was awesome.
Awesome. We'll have you on again. Good luck.
Thank you. You too. Thank you.
George Laraque joining us here on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network. Yeah, that was not a happy moment, Pierre, when I found out my rookie Clemens was gone. Did you collect cards when you were a kid or what?
I did. I also was fortunate when I was coaching, the card boom came back. We had some pretty good players on some of the teams that I coached. So you get these fresh printed cards. I still have them protected and sealed up. And
nice.
Yeah, no, I definitely respect the card business. I wasn't kidding when we had Scotty on the other day. His collection is overwhelming.
It must be insane. Yeah.
Now, I think he's sold some of it, but it doesn't matter. It's unbelievable. But I'll never forget the first time. So I'm going to say this is probably like 1987, 88, right in there, going in to see his collection in Buffalo.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. It was amazing.
Yeah.
The cards that were there,
I used to love those little sticks of gum that would come with them too. The little bubble gum.
The gum was good.
Back in the day. All right. Well, listen, Pierre, we'll touch again on that Rangers Panthers. We'll tee that up in a little bit. And we'll look back at last night as well. But first off, I want to start the Carolina Hurricanes making some news today. We talked off air. We kind of sensed maybe something was coming. And today, Don Waddell makes it official. He resigns from his post as president and general manager of the Hurricanes. They have promoted Eric Tulsky to interim GM. There's lots of rumors floating around that Waddell could end up in Columbus. Obviously, they need a GM, or it could be in another capacity. Who knows? But just your instant reaction to that, and I'll start with the Carolina side, what it means for the future of that team.
I don't know what it means for the future of the team. I thought he did some good work down there. I think, Jimmy, to be fair, you actually wrote about it after we did a show where I had said that I thought there'd be pretty significant changes in Carolina if they didn't win this series in particular against New York.
Yep.
And, they didn't win. And they didn't look great at any point in the series. Maybe there were a couple times where you'd say, okay, that's Carolina, but they didn't look great. Something was missing there. I don't know what it was. Goaltending was obviously an issue. It's a team, you can't run from it because it's being trumpeted all over, the media that Eric Tulsky is going to he is the interim general manager. He's an analytics guy. He's not a hockey guy. He's an analytics guy.
He's a strictly analytics guy.
Straight analytics guy. So he's had a lot to say in terms of how they put their team together. And it's been like that for a while. It's not like he just got there. He's been there for a while. So I don't know if they're just going to go straight analytics like Toronto tried to do when Kyle Dubas was there, what Edmonton used to try to do. I don't know what they're going to do. But Donnie did good work there, and he had a lot of different things to answer to. You know, one of the things that I could never understand was Ronnie Francis not staying there.
Mm-hmm.
I never understood that. Ronnie's a tremendous hockey person. Part of the foundation of that organization going back to when it was in Hartford, even though he got traded to Pittsburgh, he still really cared about that franchise and that organization.
Yeah.
So it's kind of gone like this. That makes sense, Jimmy.
Yeah.
It really has. So I don't know what the direction of the team is. I don't know how serious the search is going to be. It sounds like ownership there is very entrenched with Eric Tulsky. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that Eric Tulsky won't do a good job. It doesn't mean that at all. I think everybody, when they get a job, I hate it when guys get jobs and everybody just crucifies the guy. They don't even know him. They crucify the guy, and then he goes in and does well, and they pretend that they never wrote anything down.
Yep, we see that a lot.
And you see it a lot. So all I'm going to say is I hope he does. If he gets the job, I hope he does well, because it's a franchise that's important. Mm-hmm. And that part of the country, it is.
Yep.
And, they're starting to build their brand even more. So I hope it goes well, if in fact he ends up being the GM.
Looking over in our comment section here, Entertap, regular listeners saying that the Hurricanes announced the hiring of Bergeron. That's incorrect.
That's fake news on the internet.
That's fake news, Entertap. Just, that is not official.
Yeah, some clown went on whatever, Twitter or X, whatever you guys call that. I don't know. Because I have a 21-year-old son who just came in from working out and said, "You won't believe this, Mark Bergevin is going." I said, "No, you better check that again."
Yeah, that's false. That's false.
I'm sorry, I didn't know.
That could happen, but I'm just letting you know it has not happened yet. So just want to get that out there and clarify that. Further to what you were saying, though, Pierre, and look, we've made it clear that we obviously side with the eye test, hence the title of our podcast. However, we also do think there's value in analytics, but it worries me. And I'd say the same thing, Pierre, if a guy hired a guy that was completely 100% against analytics and just went one way. I think there's a happy medium. There's a balance to be found, and those are usually the successful teams. But this clearly, like you're saying, is them going all in on that and considering that they already pretty much had, even with Waddell there, I think Tulsky still had a pretty good influence, in my opinion, on player personnel decisions. And you haven't got over the hump yet. I don't know. It just seems it's like, what's the definition of insanity? To do the same thing over and over. And it seems like they're doing the same thing over and over, but now they're tripling down on it. So
it's going to be turbulent. Well, your point's well taken, but it's going to be turbulent because look at the amount of potential unrestricted free agents they have.
Right. Yeah.
Look at their situation in goal right now.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the age of some of their better players, especially on defense.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's sounding, Pierre, based on everything that's floating around out there and stuff that maybe happened at the deadline. I saw Elliot Friedman saying that the Bruins and the Canes had spoken about Natchez and Allmark maybe going there. And then we hear other teams that are interested in Natchez. It sounds like he is all but a goner there. And it's not because they don't want him. It's just they can't fit him right now.
Yeah, I know somebody that wrote about that not that long ago. I think his name's Jimmy Murphy.
Yes.
I think it was talked about on the eye test.
Thank you. But
it was fashionable to put it out there.
Yeah.
So, no, you don't have to trumpet your own horn. I know what you did.
Thank you.
Yeah. Caroline's a very interesting story.
Yeah.
The fact that Donnie would walk without having a contract, that says something to me as a hockey person.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, it doesn't signal anything good. I'll tell you.
Want to talk about the eye test?
Yeah,
that doesn't pass the smell test.
No, 100%.
I don't know. And for Rod, people want to know, well, why did it take so long for Brenda Moore's thing to get done? I think now we're finding out maybe why it took so long.
Right. Interesting. Interesting stuff there in Carolina. We'll see what happens. They are definitely going to be a team to watch as the Stanley Cup final concludes and we fully get into the offseason and the draft coming up and free agency. They're going to be a busy team for sure. On the flip side, talking about the team that people are expecting Waddell to land with, it's no guarantee yet. The Columbus Blue Jackets, Pierre, you know, you look at what they need there, and it's not necessarily just a GM. We've discussed this here before that they could very much benefit from a, you know, president of hockey ops or someone to oversee a bit or bounce ideas off. I think he would be great in that type of position. I really do, just based on his experience in the different hats he's worn.
So I'm going to just interrupt and say I would never sell my good friend and former partner, John Davidson, out. And so I'm just going to be transparent about it. John's there, and I think John's a really good hockey guy. I think John's in some pretty precarious positions. The St. Louis thing wasn't healthy. He went to New York. They started to get it going, started to turn around. There was some internal dissension. You know, he gets hung out to dry. Goes to Columbus, start to get it going a little bit. Injuries happen. Stuff happens. The Babcock situation happens. Just tough. Sometimes you just don't catch a break. But John's smart guy. John does a good job.
He's great.
So I don't know if they don't need. I don't think they need Donnie for that role
because they have John. That's a good point. You know what? I didn't even think of that, Pierre. Paul.
You know, no, that's okay. I'm just not going to sell a part. It's like I would never sell you out.
Yeah.
But I would tell you that they need a GM, and they need a GM that's proactive on the pro side. Their American League team in Cleveland is doing outstandingly well.
Yeah, that's right. Back in the final again.
They're thriving. So, you know, it's not so much the minor league or the younger guys. They got to get pro guys in there.
Yep. Yeah, because the future's bright. They've got a lot of skill. They've got skill already that's arrived on their.
They've got plenty of skill. They got to figure out what's going to happen in goal. They got to figure that out. They're going to have to figure out some situations on defense. They're going to have to figure out some guys up front in terms of different role creation. But they're getting there. They are getting there.
I don't think that team's as far as people think.
The good news for them is they're in the Metro. And so Philly's still a work in progress. Washington is a work in progress.
Carolina's upside down right now.
The New York Islanders, let's talk about that in a second.
Oh, yeah.
What they did today is a good example of what we're talking about right now. The New York Islanders are a work in progress. So, you know, Pittsburgh is a work in progress. The Metro is one of those things right now. If you're going to be one of those building teams, you want to be in the Metro.
Yep.
That's what you do not want to be in the Atlantic.
No.
Because you're going to get smushed.
Yeah.
You just get put against the curb and splat.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen to you.
Yeah.
But on the other side, no, it's the best division to be in right now if you're rebuilding.
So let's talk about that trade today, Pierre. I sent it to you, and I was just kind of saying, what's up with this? And you made a great point at what Lou Lamoriello is trying to do when he traded today, 2024 first-round pick, which is the 18th, the 2024 second-round pick, which is the 50th, and in return he gets the and this is with the Blackhawks, by the way, 2024 first-round pick, which is number 20, 2024 second-round pick at number 54, and a 2024 second-round pick again at number 61. So tell the listeners what you told me, Pierre, what's behind
it. So you get, rather than going into this with 2 picks, he gets an additional pick. He drops back 2 spots. You remember what I've been telling you about this draft? After about number 12 or 13, everything's kind of the same, but he's adding collateral. And I don't think he's going to use all those picks.
No.
I think what he'll do is he'll package those picks. He needs, for the Islanders to be relevant, and for the Islanders to make Patrick Watt and his team take the next step, they have to add NHL players. They don't have enough internally. They had one of the worst American League teams in that league this year, and it's been like that for a while, Jimmy. Yeah. You know, Bridgeport has not done well, and that's part of that is because they've sacrificed their game, their teams, their organization for trying to get the NHL team in the playoffs. Make a run, and it was working for a while, and now it's over.
Yeah, and they know that.
They know it.
So he's going to stop.
The goaltending and the size and defense with Mayfield, with Pulock, and with Pelech, and now the growth of Dobson, between the goaltending and that's kind of saved them. It's kind of saved them. If they don't have that, because they don't score easy and they're not fast.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is.
And by the way, not for nothing, I'd like to mention, Lane Lambert wasn't necessarily the whole problem there. He did really good with the roster he had. And I don't think he did that badly considering what he had.
No, Lane, I know people that are Islander fans are going to say, oh, yeah, look how well we did with Patrick Roy. Change a little because you get that additional bump. You get a little jam. It's fine. But the rosters it's built, it's not nearly an elite roster. And I like the Islanders. One of the owners is a very good friend of mine.
Mm-hmm.
So I want them to do well. They're an important franchise too.
They are.
Big fan base, people that really care about the game. But the roster's not good enough.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah. All right, let's switch over to the playoff hockey, Pierre. We'll look back at last night quickly. And as I said to you in our conversation this morning, yes, the Connor McDavid double OT winner is great. Happy to see him score, especially after missing that other one, getting robbed earlier in the game. But I want to go to this goal right here because this goes to what I was talking about with George, is that this is the type of hockey team the Oilers are trying to and successfully becoming, in my eyes right now, more playoff type, more gritty, more ugly hockey. And this goal was just ugly. This is Zach Hyman with the second goal of the game.
Big save on Waddell by Skinner, and now quickly back the other way at McDavid. Tanev is back. McDavid, cross ice, broken up by Tanev. Then Hyman gets to the puck and scores! Zach Hyman with his 12th of the postseason. 2-0 Edmonton.
Now he's got Tanev draped all over him. He's got another defenseman there, and he still barrels through, gets that goal. I loved it. That, to me, is playoff hockey, Pierre, and this is why the Oilers are up 1-0 in this series, in my eyes.
Oh, I think they had a couple other things too. Like
yeah,
a goal post to start the third period or the first overtime, and then a second goal post on the back end of that power play. I think it was more than just that. To take you to school on that, because I was working the game last night, so there was some divine intervention that went into that. And then obviously they don't capitalize on the 4-minute power play, the double minor to McDavid, and eventually McDavid doesn't score at the end of the first overtime because of Chris Tanev's stick and because of an amazing superhuman effort by, goaltender Jake Ottinger. But that was a funky game because, you know me, I will never badmouth hockey. That was a tough game to watch.
Yeah, it had some weird periods to it.
That was a tough game to watch. I'm not going to lie to you. And I know there's a feeling out process, and I know one team's really trying to focus on defense, Edmonton. And I know the other team, Dallas, has kind of made their living playing defense. But there wasn't a lot going on in that thing.
It was, a lot of slush, so to speak, underneath them throughout the game. Too, I want to point out, Pierre, interesting stat, and I didn't know this heading into that is now 6 straight game 1 losses in the playoffs for Pete DeBoer and the Stars.
Yeah. So I know a team in 1991 that lost 4 straight first round games, first games.
I was just going to get at it.
So New Jersey, Washington, Boston, and Minnesota beat the Pittsburgh Penguins in game 1 of every one of their series.
Yep.
Guess who won the Stanley Cup? Pittsburgh.
Exactly. Pittsburgh. And that's what I was going to get. I was going to transition to, though. That may be so, but Pete DeBoer has proven plenty of times that he can get past that and he can adapt and make the proper changes to bounce back in a series. So, if I'm looking ahead at tomorrow, and we're not going to be on the air, so I'll just say quickly, I like the Dallas Stars a lot in game 2 tomorrow. I think it's a good situational spot for them. The way DeBoer does adjust all the time and gets his guys up after a loss, that to me is why, they are a legit Stanley Cup contender.
I agree with that. And the other thing I'm going to say is, what makes you a better coach? When your better players play, and they're going to get Rope hints back.
That's right.
That's going to make them better. So everybody's going to slide down the depth chart at center ice. And so now you're probably looking at Matt Duchene playing in the 3-hole rather than the 1-hole.
Exactly.
Now you got Wyatt Johnston's playing in the 2-hole, and he's insulated by Rope Hintz and Matt Duchene. Then maybe Radek Faksa moves into the 4-hole.
Mm-hmm.
So it changes the dynamic of your matchups pretty significantly when you add a player like that. And what does that do, Jimmy? It makes you a better coach.
Yes, it does. It does. For sure. So, all right, let's get ahead to tonight, though. We've got a game two, the first game two, the conference final on tap. New York Rangers hosting the Florida Panthers after a 3-0 loss to the Panthers in game one. As we stated earlier off the top of the show, it sure sounds like Peter Laviolette is listening to what we said yesterday and putting Matt Rempe into the lineup. And I think that's a good move, as we all agree with George earlier. But when you're looking big picture, and you're the New York Rangers, what is one thing you're focusing on to adjust in terms of maybe preparation or action?
Well, there are two things that I think are really important. One, coming out of your own zone much more cleanly.
Mm-hmm.
It was too messy. It was too much on the boards. It was too easy for Florida to forecheck the puck, not just players, but to forecheck the puck. So the Rangers have to move the puck quicker, and they have to support their defense with their forwards better. That's number one. Number two, because of the way Paul Maurice has Florida playing in the neutral zone defensively, it's hard to come in waves with skill and make slick passes the way the Rangers want to. So short side shoot-ins, just chip it, chase it, and check it. It's simple. That's why I coined that phrase: chip it, chase it, and check it.
Nice.
Just chip it off the boards, chase it, and then check it.
Yep.
Meaning you run, whoever touches that puck first, everybody's on the same page. Pulverize the guy.
Yep.
And when you play chip, chase, and check hockey, and everybody understands it because it's not complicated, it's a simple buzz phrase, you can make a difference. And that's what I think they need to do, because they didn't generate any forecheck. Outside of maybe the last 4 minutes of the game in game one, Jimmy, they didn't do much. They just didn't do it.
And look, I know I don't have stats in front of me, Pierre, but I think it goes without saying, getting the first goal is huge, especially in when you're their home team, you're down 1-0 in the series. You want to keep that momentum within the crowd, get that crowd on your side. Don't let the other team silence them or make it a quiet building. You want to keep it loud. You want to ride that initial momentum. So I think they really need to get out to a quick 1-0 lead if I'm the New York Rangers.
I think there's a lot to that. I do. Here's another thing that would get the fans on your side. Who's becoming dark hat number one in the whole series? Who's becoming that?
Ooh.
Take a guess.
Matthew Tkachuk.
Yeah. What would make the crowd really happy?
A nice pulverizing hit on him, whether that's open ice or along the boards.
Mm-hmm. Just what he did to Vinny Trocheck at the start of game number one.
Yep.
So, and Matthew's not afraid of that. Like, so
no,
he
knows it's coming.
He knows it's coming. He's good. He gets it. He knows the rules of the game.
Yep.
He gets it. But if it's the right guy stepping up on him,
mm-hmm.
Who's villain number two? He wears number 9, Sam Bennett.
Yes.
You may think about that too.
Yep.
So as much of a message-sending game as game one was from Florida, Rangers are still in their building.
Mm-hmm.
They can change the atmosphere pretty quickly by disposing of villains.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think I like the Rangers in this. I think they bounce back. It's going to be a wild atmosphere.
No, you are. I'm not that quick to jump there.
Okay.
I'm not. There's something about Paul and this team, Paul Maurice and this team.
Especially on the road.
There's something about them. It's hard to put because I haven't been in practice. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm watching the game.
I have.
I know you have.
Yeah.
And that's why I defer to you. I haven't been in the dressing room, so it's hard to say, but I'm watching it and I'm seeing something that's festering in a good way for them. And I think it's just a relationship between the coach and the players that not every team has.
Mm-hmm. And it's unfinished business from last year.
I think that's part of what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right. There's something else. I think they trust them.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter if they like them or not.
Yep.
Because I bet you there's some guys that don't like him.
Yeah.
And there's some guys that absolutely adore him.
Mm-hmm.
But they trust him.
Pierre, I'll tell you too, you ask about practice, and you always tell me the good teams play like they practice. Well, that's definitely the Panthers from what I've seen. Yeah. I've seen practice maybe 5 times this year, and they're hard practices. They're intense, they're passionate, but they're also fun. Yeah. They're also enjoying themselves out there. Like you say, there's sort of this camaraderie that's going on there, and that translates into the games for sure.
This summer you're going to come watch my group practice.
I can't wait.
And it's early in the morning. And a lot of these kids, when they're done, they go right to the gym and then they go to work. They have afternoon jobs. It's not easy. It's a long day. You're starting at 5 o'clock every morning, and you'll see. The one thing, it's really hard. But you know what? It's fun too.
Oh yeah, and
if they don't make it any fun, they're not going to get better.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll show you the stats from last summer, and then what all these guys did during the course of this season, and you'll say, "Oh, I can see why that works." When you make it fun, it does work. You got to make it fun.
Yeah, especially when you get.
If I could say one thing as a self-criticism of me, when I coached, not as an assistant, but as a head, I'm not sure I made it fun enough.
Well,
because I was trying to change the standard of where I didn't like where the team was. So I was trying to change the standard, and I didn't think you could change the standard by being fun. But as I look at it now, 20, 30 years later, I think there was another way to do it.
Well, you know what, Pierre? I mean, first off, good on you on saying that and having that self-awareness. But I do want to say, and I know I'm not making excuses. I know you don't make excuses yourself. But I think in someone that's in your position, and we still see it today with young coaches, when you come in that young, and a lot of the guys you're coaching are older than you or veterans or established, they may have star power. There's just a natural tendency, I would imagine, Pierre, to come in and lay the law down just so you have some command of the dressing room. And they don't just look at you like, well, this kid's going to tell me what to do. So I kind of get that you have to come in that way. I guess maybe you needed to maybe find more of a happy medium as you went on, but I don't think anyone should blame you for coming in that way.
No. I'm not worried about, I'm just talking about self-criticism for me. I think it's really important that we make it fun. I think that's the one thing. If I've learned over 34 years, I've seen it with Badger Bob. I've seen it with Scotty. I've seen it with Paul Holmgren. I've seen it with Rick Bowness. That's when I was working, doing that. And then on TV, I got to see all these guys. For 25 years, I had unfettered access to every single NHL dressing room.
That's amazing.
So, every single coaching office in the league, I can go in there and talk to them and see, hey, you know what? He's doing it right. He's not doing it right. But I'm not going to intrude on them. I'm just going to see how they're doing it.
Yeah. And
so you learn. And I think the teams that have had the most success, especially, I'm going to say since about 2005. So after the lockout, starting with Laviolette's team in Carolina and going forward, the teams that have had the most fun, I think, and obviously had talent, they're the teams that have won the most.
I agree. And you know what? Winning's fun too.
There's probably some smarty pants on the internet saying, oh, yeah, I'm sure those LA Kings teams with Daryl Sutter had a ton of fun. You know what? They did. They did.
Ask Tyler Toffoli about that. I remember him raving about that in an interview in Montreal.
Like, they had great characters on that team. They had great leadership. Dustin Brown was a great leader. Doughty was a young guy. He was full of, piss and vinegar. He was having a ton of fun. Kopitar was a young guy. He was coming in. They were having a ton of fun. Mike Richards and Jeff Carter were coming from a team that had been to the Stanley Cup final in Philadelphia. They were having a ton of fun. So all these guys got injected into the room. And while the coach was tough as nails, he's a friend of mine, but he was tough as nails. And there were times when you're just like, what's he doing?
Yeah.
But it worked.
And by the way, though, if you like dry sense of humor, that guy's the king. I mean, he can just do a deadpan better than most coaches I've ever seen in a press conference, and it's great. So, yeah.
You know how they talk about street sense?
Mm-hmm.
So he's a combination of street sense and farmer intelligence.
Yeah.
He's an amazingly intelligent man. Daryl, very, very smart. Just doesn't play the role, but he is.
Oh, yeah.
He is.
And who's intelligent? Scotty Bowman, man. I was thinking about that conversation we had with him earlier this week, and it's so funny because every time we have him on, you'll then see things he said come to fruition in the games because he just knows it so well.
Hey, before we get to the questions, because I know we probably have a lot today.
Yeah.
I've been out a fair bit because I go to the rink early and I see a lot of people at the rink, and then I leave and then I go to the gym with the kids and everything else. And people like two things this week, a lot. They love Scotty. Scotty's like number one. You know what else they really liked? Molly.
Oh, yeah.
Molly got really good. Molly got a lot of good reviews. Pass that on to her. Seriously.
Oh, I did. And I will again. She was great.
She did really well. We got Jimmy. as this series goes along, she's like a good voice.
We'll get her back on again. She said she'll do it anytime, Pierre.
Okay, we got to get her on next week, Jimmy, because a lot of people really appreciate what she had to say.
We will. We'll set that up, and we're working on a Dallas themed guest too. Hopefully, we'll get something for you.
You know what, Jimmy? I told you this, and I want our listeners to know what I sometimes talk to you about. Mm-hmm. I would love to call Jimmy Nill, or I'd love to call.
But we don't do that when they're still
feel comfortable doing that in the middle of this right now. I don't think it's appropriate. Right
one guy we might be able to land down once the World Championships are over, and he's a former Dallas Star, won a Stanley Cup with them, by the way. Dave Reed joining us hopefully next week. I've been going back and forth with him, so hopefully
David's good. He's
he's great.
Not just a Cup winner in Dallas. He won in Colorado too.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So
he was on Bork's team, eh?
He was
2001. I forget that.
He was that Boston team that we beat 2 years in a row.
92.
Yeah, 91 and 92. He was on those teams.
He was a pivotal player on that year.
Elite penalty killer, elite grinding, checking winger, elite.
I remember that series they played before you that I spoke about, the sweep with over Montreal. He was huge in that series, just frustrating them all series. You know what, too? He was a leader. He was a really good leader. Like, I remember how much those guys in that locker room loved him.
He's a really good man. I worked with him a lot on TV up at TSN when he was first starting. Very, very nice man.
He's awesome. Good stuff. All right. Before we go over to the comments section and get our questions, let's tell you about our sponsor, TCS Customs and Logistics. You want to go over there right now and unlock the full potential of your shipping operation with TCS Customs and Logistics. From around the corner to around the world, flatbeds to air freight, customs clearance to drawback consulting. TCS is a one-stop shop for all things transport, moving pieces and delivering a peace of mind. For no obligation customs or freight quote, contact sickpodcast@shiptcs.com. Again, that's sickpodcast@shiptcs.com. All right, let's get to our questions here on a Friday afternoon as we get ready for Game 2, Rangers-Panthers. Jason Logan says, hi, guys. Question, if the Rangers go down 2-0, do you think they will have a difficult time coming back against the Panthers? Yes, but it's not impossible.
But I'll say very difficult.
Yeah.
Very difficult. This is a totally different team.
Yeah. And this is a team, like, as we already saw, how much they can suffocate you. You don't want to let that happen again because it's up here.
And I know he's not going to say it, but Adam Fox is not 100%.
Yeah.
And if you're going to make a comeback, like if you're down 0-2, you need all your best players to be your best guys. And I just don't know if he can get to that level. He's just not 100%.
Yep.
I have so much respect for the fact that he's even playing what he's doing. But you can see there's just not that explosive nature to his game that we're used to seeing. And I think that's because he's hurt. And I think it started, obviously, in the Washington series. Mm-hmm. They got knee-on-knee with Nick Jensen.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. This is a must-win in our eyes for the Rangers.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Enter tap. A deal the likes of Islanders and Blackhawks today is highly irregular. Usually you see deals like this happen on the draft floor. I thought the same thing, Enter tap. Any ideas why this happened now?
Yeah, because the Islanders are getting collateral so that they know what they have to play with when they need to make a trade. And I told Jimmy, they don't have enough prospects. They've got 2 top-end prospects. Both of them are college players. But they don't have enough internal depth, either at the American League level or at the prospect level, that they can go out and get live body NHL players that are going to help them. So they need to stockpile picks so they can go out and do that and make their team better.
Just to pass this along, Pierre, breaking news per Darren Dreger, your former colleague, says official Scott Arniel is the new head coach of the Winnipeg Jets.
We talked about that, right, earlier.
Somebody said that here that he would be the guy.
Yeah. Okay, good for him. Scott's a good person. He'll do a good job. He's a hockey man. Had a real good run there when he was a player.
Mm-hmm.
He's kicked around a lot, and I think he's learned a lot too. And when he did step in for Rick Bowness this year in Winnipeg, he did really well.
He had a command of that bench. You could see it.
He does, and I think the players will respond to him. And I know there's some people taking shots at him because he didn't do well in Columbus. Nobody did well in Columbus. I mean, he was no good.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of good coaches went in there. Torch went in there. Hitchcock went in there. There were a lot of guys that went in there. You wouldn't say that it was the highlight of their career coaching.
I think only Torch is the only one to win a playoff round. Am I correct?
It might be because when they won, they were in Toronto in the pod, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
One game Seth Jones played. I don't even know how many minutes, I think.
Yeah. Oh, no, well, they won. So that's 2 then. 2, because they beat Tampa Bay the year before. That's the one I was thinking.
Torch, that I broadcast that.
Torch, right? Yep.
And they swept them. And Torch, Columbus was down 3-0.
Just going to say, bring up game 1 because that's important.
Down 3-0. And Torch made 3 changes. David Savard was playing Columbus then. He had the strong side deep pinching. He jumped the defense into the cycle. They started cycling, jumped and the third thing was they jumped the defense into the rush. And Tampa was so poorly prepared. Torch killed them.
Yeah,
he crushed. That was a coaching win. That series was a coaching win. That was John Tortorella.
And Tampa was dumbfounded after that, and then it got swept. All right, next question. Danko, how high can the Habs move up in the draft with just offering their 5th and 26th picks?
I don't think they can.
I don't think they're going to try though, Pierre, either. Like you said.
Well, I think you try everything.
Oh yeah, I mean, but I don't think they're going hard at it. You know what I mean?
Jimmy, I talked to a guy today that is highly involved in the NHL, and we were talking about the 1999 draft. And the Atlanta Thrashers had the first pick overall. They took Patrick Stefan. And Vancouver was wheeling and dealing so that they could get 2 and 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because in their book, the 2 best players in that draft were the Sedin brothers.
Yep.
And Brian Burke was right. And the Atlanta Thrashers and the Florida Panthers and all those other teams that were moving picks around, they were wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So Burke set up Vancouver to have this unbelievable run with these 2 kids. And Atlanta moved. They went to Winnipeg.
Yep.
So,
who was the GM of Atlanta then?
Donnie.
It was Don Waddell, yeah. Everything's cyclical here. All right, next question.
But I guess before we do that, my point is you should always be looking to move.
Yes.
Berkey does, and Berkey did. The only way Hartford got Christopher Pronger is because of Brian Burke. I was there. I was sitting in the room with him. Okay. He made a 3-way deal with Calgary, San Jose, and Hartford to move up to get the number 2 pick because everybody knew Daig was going number 1 to Ottawa.
Right.
And so Berkey did that. Nobody else did it. Brian did. So Brian's if you're any kind of smart executive, you study the moves that Burke has made over the course of his career, either as an assistant GM or as a GM at the draft. Not all his other body of work. You can if you want. Study some of the things he did at the draft to make his team better. It's unbelievable.
Pierre, not to take, and I totally agree with you, and not to take anything away from what Berkey has done, but in terms of how much does the caliber of player, or let me rephrase it, the perceived caliber of the player at the top, so in this case, Celebrini, how much does that perceived caliber affect the ability for a GM to pull off something like Berkey did? Do you know what I mean? Like, if you know, like, everybody knows Celebrini. I wasn't there. I don't remember that draft.
No way San Jose's not trading that pick.
Yeah, exactly.
But Atlanta should have known these 2 Sedins are better than Patrick Stefan.
Okay.
So
that was a failure.
If everybody wants Stefan, okay, that's fine. We'll take 2 and 3, and we'll take the Sedins. Or we'll take Sedins 1 and 2.
Yep.
Did you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's where
scouting
matters.
Mm-hmm.
Berkey, I'm just telling you, Pavel Bure in Vancouver. I know anybody could have done that, Pierre. Okay, anybody could have done it. One team did it.
Yeah.
Vancouver, and Brian Burke was there.
And look what he did with you in Hartford when you were there.
And there's a lot. Go look
at that draft, huh?
Go look what he did in Anaheim. I'm just telling you, if you're a young person, you want to be in the hockey business, go study the draft day maneuvers of Brian P. Burke.
All right. You heard it there. And I agree with Pierre. Berkey's a genius when it comes to that. Next question. Chris Blue Shirts. Good afternoon, guys. Is it a thing to assume that the Rangers got used to playing the Canes a certain way, and now they have to get used to playing a different style against the Panthers? Thanks. No, I think that's a great observation, Chris.
That's really
part of the playoffs.
Way to go, Chris. Completely agree. And that's
why scouting's huge, right?
you always hear the statement, the Stanley Cup's the hardest trophy to win because you have to adjust every series. Every team is different. Every team has star players that do things differently.
Yep.
Some are physical, some are fast, some are big, some are small, some can score from distance, some can score from in tight. Everything is different. So every series, the guys that don't get enough credit through all this are the advanced scouts.
I guess, yeah. Yep.
The advanced scouts, and you don't ever hear about them.
I know.
They just go toil in darkness. It's a steady array of cold hot dogs, bad coffee, middle seats in airplanes, and $75 a day per diem. That's what it is. But you get a lot of Marriott points, they're non-taxable, and you get a lot of Delta miles, and they're non-taxable. But those guys do a lot of work.
I'll tell you what, Pierre. I think I told this story on here, or maybe it was just off the air to you. I think it was as the season was winding down, this season just now for the Boston Bruins, and they were getting ready for the first round. In a press conference after practice, I asked Jim Montgomery, I said, so where are you right now? Like, take us through what it's like right now with the conversations you're having with your advanced scout, your management and the coaching departments right now. And he kind of looked at me like, did you really just ask that? And yeah, I mean, I think it's really interesting. I think that's sort of your bloodline when it comes to scouting a series and everything you just said. But he appreciated it, because those are the guys that nobody talks about, but they're huge when it comes to this stuff. They're absolutely
they toil upstairs. I know you see a lot of them because of where you sit and work. I did that job for a long time. That's the first time I ever met Mitch Melnick.
Oh, that's how you guys met. I didn't know that.
I was pre-scout in Montreal, Boston, and that's how we met.
The old form or what?
It was in the old form.
Wow.
The old form. Yeah. That was a long time. It's a long time ago, Jimmy. You weren't born yet.
All right. Next question. Veka Delma. I hope I pronounced that right. Delmas. Do players have a say when their coach is fired? Has it ever happened that players like their coach so much and say no to management? I've heard stories. I don't know. I can't confirm anything, but I've heard stories that all those things have happened.
Well, yeah, I would say I agree with Jimmy, but one of the ones that really stands out would be the Toronto Maple Leafs back when Howard Ballard was running and owning the team, and Roger Nielsen was the coach, and he was extremely popular with the players. He was extremely popular with the fans. They fired Roger. There was a total outcry in the city of Toronto at the old Maple Leaf Guards. People were really upset, and they told Roger to come out for the game, but he had to have a bag on his head.
What?
Yeah, because they fired him and then they brought him back.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's one of those. Now on the other side of it, there's some players that have enough power to get coaches fired and have coaches fired.
I covered a situation like that. Unfortunately, it was hard to cover, but Bruce Cassidy in Boston a couple of years back. So
it like stuff happens.
It happens.
Stuff happens.
Yep. That's why it's important to have fun. There we go. Next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, why does it usually take D-men longer to develop than forwards?
Because when you grow up skating, you don't grow up skating backwards. You grow up skating forwards, number one. Number two, the guys are coming at you faster than you can ever imagine. And number three, you got to get strong because to contain those fast guys that are big, kids just can't do it. They're not a lot of guys like Denny Potvin. They're not a lot of guys like Raymond Bourque. They're not a lot of guys like Christopher Pronger. They're not a lot of guys like Scott Stevens. I'm giving you guys that were big, physical, mobile guys that could get stuff done. They're not a lot of guys like that. Al McInnes was another one that was like that. Chelios still went to college. People forget that, but Chelios was phenomenal, Hall of Fame player, Stanley Cup champion, an amazing player. But it took him time. But that's why it's too much athleticism. It's speed, it's size, it's strength. Kids just aren't built for that.
I'm glad this came up today, Pierre, because so yesterday I wrote a story. I just said apparently there's some talk. Maybe Brock Nelson could be out there in a trade. Who knows what will happen or whatever. Just speculation stuff. But I said if that ever happens, I think he'd be a good fit for the Bruins with his size and the scoring he could bring. Anyhow, somebody in the comments section, because this is how crazy it's getting around here since the Bruins lost, Pierre. They're really down on Charlie McAvoy. And somebody in the comments section suggested, oh, yeah, just trade McAvoy for Brock Nelson.
Okay.
Oh boy.
That was what I said. I'd love to meet all of you. There's a really nice Irish pub down the street from where I live in Boston, and I'd be more than happy to buy you all the first round just to calm you down and get you off.
Like,
oh man, just stop the nonsense.
This is a kid. He's gonna be a superstar. He's learning. He's developing, and I think he, And you brought up the Chelios there, and of course you had that analogy when we spoke to Brick, which, by the way, Brick said he loved. A lot of Bruins fans really love that. Said it's a great idea. Give it time. Just like Randy just said, defensemen take time. So people out there, just calm down. All right, calm down.
One of my favorite players. Well, I've got a couple that I really like because I saw them when they were really young. One is Brian Leach. The other one's Scotty Niedermayer. And what allowed them to play as young, they're Hall of Fame guys. And what allowed both of them to play amazing hockey sense for both of them, like their brains worked like Adam Fox's brain works.
Right.
And that's what. But if you ever did a drag race, Niedermayer, Leach, and Fox, I can tell you who's finishing last. Fox.
Yeah.
And the other two, I think Leach would be second and Niedermayer would be first. But those two guys that would be 1 and 2, they're skating, especially their lateral mobility is off the charts. Like crazy. I mean, I remember watching Niedermayer play as a 17-year-old in Kamloops. I was like, he's only 17?
Yeah, sometimes you just know.
You're just like, no way, this isn't possible. And because I had seen Leach when he was 16 at Avon Old Farms, and I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's so good, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it takes time for the D. They're not all going to be like that.
Yeah.
Hey, Rob Blake, Hall of Fame guy, right? Hall of Fame. Rob Blake had to go to Bowling Green and spend some significant time there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's true. I think people need to just take a breather, step back, evaluate the situation, and realize what you got in a player like that. So,
well said.
All right. Next question. FFF. Pierre, I am a Montreal fan since Cornier and was a rookie. Can you give us an example of a Bob Gainey type Habs player the Habs should acquire, or a Claude Lemieux type the Habs should target?
Well, I'm kind of probably the same age as FFF, pretty close. Yvon Cornier was so good. He was so good. He just shoot the puck. I remember one time he was coming down. He had the puck on his right side. He flipped it over to his left side and shot it the same way. It was unbelievable. He was so good. So let's think of a Bob Gainey type. Well, you're not getting Anze Kopitar. I know he's not a winger like Bob was, but that would be a guy. There are guys out there, I guess. It's just hard for me to come up with one name off the top of my head. But there are plenty of guys that can play like that. They're not as good as Bob. I mean, Bob was one of the best at what he did. He was amazingly good. But you need to have those players. Those are the eye test players. You got to have those players. Oh, yeah. You know what's good? Adam Lowry. Adam Lowry is really good like that, but he's a centerman too. He's just big. He gets in your ways. He's a lead penalty killer. He does a lot of good stuff. Jordan Stahl.
Yep. Jordan
Stahl would be another one, but they're not wingers. They're hard to find, those guys.
Yeah,
they're really hard to find.
Really are. All right. We're going to go to a video question now, Pierre, from our good friend Shane. We haven't heard from Shane in a while, and it was really nice to find that in my inbox. So let's go to Shane's question right now.
Hey, Jimmy. Hey, Pierre. After back-to-back pacemaker surgeries, the wound is finally healed. I hope your winter went well and your spring is going great. I love the show. I've actually stopped watching all other podcasts because yours is the most informative one when it comes from the organizational side of the game of hockey. And I just love the actual stories that come from the colleges and the junior players and everyone that Pierre and Jimmy that you guys meet. I just love those stories. And of course, Scotty Bowman is he's a treasure. And I'm still reading his book because there's some dry parts that kind of, okay, I'm going to put this away for a bit because that's the way Ken is sometimes. Anyway, I want to get this off my chest, this thing about rebuilding NHL hockey teams. Pierre, when is it ideal for an NHL team to rebuild? I'm a Montreal Canadiens fan, and right now I'm hearing fans say, oh, we should trade for Lionel this summer or so-and-so or sign so-and-so from the UFA list. I don't believe that this is the summer that Ken Hughes should do these moves. The team is set on contract. If you go to Cap Friendly, you'll see the roster. It's set for this year. And then next summer, is when we're going to lose 6 players that really we can afford to lose, and then we'll have all kinds of cap space to sign whoever we want next summer, who, of course, will come to the Montreal Canadiens. But Armia, Dvorak, Evans, Pizzetta, David Savard, and Jonathan Kovacevic, these are all players that will be useful to other teams individually. You can't have them all on one team like we do right now. That's why we're in last place. You can have them spaced out over the NHL, but not all on one team. And that's the biggest problem we have right now. So next summer, 2025, that's the summer when Mr. Hughes is going to go shopping, not this summer.
Shopping, yes, I agree. Big game hunting is different. Trading, you have assets internally that teams need to give them relief and also depth at a position. You've got depth on defense. So in terms of free agent, we agree on that. In terms of trading, and I'm not sure that was the premise of the question, but I would say I would be shocked if the Canes were not active on the trade market. In terms of free agency, I think it's another year away. But the Canes are well on their way to fixing their problems. They are, and I'm excited for their fan base. I really am.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I think we've said it before. We do think something will happen this summer, but I totally respect what Shane's saying as well. And I think the free agent. By the way, great.
That was good.
What a guy too. Jeez, I'm glad he's okay as well. He said he's fine. So
yeah, he looked and sounded fantastic. Way to go, Shane. That was good. I enjoyed that.
Thanks for the question, Shane. All right, next question. Real Deal Prime. Question. Florida in 2022 had the most goals off the rush in the NHL, 20 more than another team, and won the Presidents. Today, 2 years later, they are 32nd off the rush, from first to worst in 2 years. How?
They're playing defense.
Mm-hmm. They change their
have an identity. They get the puck in deep. They don't play cute plays in the neutral zone unless there's a play to be made. And guess who was there 2 years ago? Just starting out, Paul Maurice. Mm-hmm. This is his second full season there.
Yep.
So the coaching message is different. Joel Quenneville was there before him. Andrew Burnett and Joel. But it was different style. And they didn't have all the pieces they have now.
Yep.
They didn't have all those pieces.
Chuck changed everything.
Bennett wasn't bad either.
Bennett was great, but I just think just the identity became so much more in your face.
Quenneville deserves a lot of credit for Gustav Forsling.
Oh, yeah.
He deserves some credit on that. And they're just, Brandon Montour. You can start looking at it, the pieces that were added. But I think the system is what speaks to those stats that Real Deal Prime is asking about.
For sure. All right, next question. Alex Ivanowski, with Don Waddell resigning in Carolina, does this signify the analytics department taking more control over final say of hockey ops? Also, what will Columbus get with Waddell if he goes there?
Well, let's do the second part first. If Donnie goes to Columbus, they get an organized hockey guy that understands how to negotiate. He's worked in a smaller market. In Atlanta, he worked in a smaller market. Obviously in Carolina, and he spent a lot of time in the International Hockey League in the minors. So he understands how to put, minor league operations at the top of the food chain in order to develop players. So they're getting an organized, experienced hockey guy if he goes there. In terms of the first part of the question, I'll take that. I don't know who's going to be the GM there. I know there's an interim GM right now, Eric Tulsky, who is an analytics guy. Mm-hmm. And I believe, based on everything I've been told, is that ownership is very pro analytics as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tulsky ends up being the GM. If they're not an analytic organization, but I think they've been an analytic organization for a good while now.
Yeah.
For a good while.
So I think they're leaning that way for sure. All right, next question. Danko, any lesser known 2024 draft prospects to look out for at the Memorial Cup?
No, it's so covered now. It's pretty amazing how thorough the people are. Now everybody's got their own opinion. What's an elite player? What's not an elite player? But I think it's pretty, solid now in terms of evaluating players. I like the U18. That McKenna kid, I won't stop talking about him. He's just really special.
Yeah, he's going to be the real deal. All right, next question. Jason Logan, sorry for another question. That's all right, Jay. But do you think Waugh will ever coach for the Habs or work for them, the office, or do you think that bridge is still burnt from when he told the coaches it's his last game?
Well, I don't think he'll work there.
I don't either. I think if it was going to happen, it would have
happened. Probably, I can tell you, if it would have happened, it would have happened right around 2011, 2012.
Mm-hmm.
I can just having gone through the process, and deep into the process.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that would have been probably the best time that he could have gone there, and it didn't work. So I'd be saying no.
Yeah, I think that ship sailed. So, all right, next question. Enter tap. Do you think Bertuzzi and Domi stay in Toronto? And if so, what might their contract offers look like?
That's a great question. I think they're going to be less than people think. I think both want to stay there. They might have to give on years. They might have to give on dollar value. I don't know. But I would say that in a perfect world, now that Berube's there, he would probably have an affinity for Bertuzzi and probably have an affinity for Domi, but they'd have to be at the right price and the right term in terms of years. So I can't say what their agents are looking for. I don't know.
I do think that their style of play fits in a lot better with Berube and what they're trying to accomplish there as an organization.
I agree.
All right, next question. Real Deal Prime. Last 5 years, teams who have won the Cup were top 5 in defending transition. There are 2 teams left in the playoffs who are top 5 in that category, Florida and Edmonton. Is there something to that stat?
Yeah.
Real Deal coming out with some great ones here. Thank you.
There is something to that stat. And that's one of the reasons why you asked that question earlier about Florida.
Mm-hmm.
That's why their numbers are gone down off the rush.
Yep.
It's because they're more concentrated on defending. I don't think Edmonton's situation changed because it wasn't like that at the beginning of the year. The way it was.
Yeah.
So that changed with a coaching change.
Yep.
Philosophical change.
Yeah, and it's working. All right, next question. Randy Workman, Jimmy and Pierre, if you were a GM, what position is the top priority in your team? Goalie.
Impact elite centerman.
That was going to be my other choice for sure. All right, next question. Alex Ivanovsky, how come Norway doesn't have more NHL players like Sweden and Finland do? I know they get 2 more players going higher in the draft, but it always struck me as odd there isn't more NHL players in there.
Because I'll tell you, it's a very good question.
Yeah.
So when you go there, you go to Oslo, not a lot of hockey rinks there. Lillehammer's got them, Oslo's got them, but Bergen's got them. There's not a lot of rinks there. What they have is they got a lot of speed skating rinks. Downhill skiing is very popular for winter sports, and it's a tough winter there. Speed skating is huge.
Mm-hmm.
But cross-country skiing is massive. And all those sports are a little bit cheaper than what hockey is. The better hockey players don't play in Norway. The kids are from there, and the same in Denmark too.
Yeah,
there's a land bridge. You just drive across to go into Sweden from Norway. But when you're in Denmark and you're in Copenhagen, you just take the bridge across from Copenhagen right to Malmo, and you can get on a train. You can play in Malmo. You can go up the coast. So there's Helsingborg. There are all these different places you can go to. Javla. So there, it's different. The Norwegians have other sports that they're really proud of, and I don't blame them. They're really good at them.
Yeah, sounds beautiful. I'd love to cover a world championship over there, Pierre. All right, next question. A to Z me. Manny Malhotra landed an AHL coaching job today. Thoughts? He did. I didn't see this here.
In Abbotsford today.
Oh, good.
Obviously, he's got tremendous pedigree with that organization in Vancouver. If you've ever gotten to know Manny, he's just a fantastic team person. He understands the trials and tribulations of players that have huge expectation that maybe don't match up to that. Manny would be one of them. Mm-hmm. And so he's a really good hire for that position, I think. And I was really happy when I saw that today. So I think he'll do a good job. He was part of the Leaf staff. I'm not sure he would have stayed. with Craig Berube going in there. So I thought it was a proactive move by Patrick Alvin and the people in Vancouver. He'll do a very good job in Abbotsford. I'm very excited for him.
I remember, Pierre, how much he meant to that 2011 Canucks team and the emotional symbol he was for them throughout that run, even when he couldn't play.
Yep.
But it was great. And when they showed him on the Jumbotron there in game 1, that place went nuts. All right. We're down to the last question here on a Friday. What do we got? FFF. I hear that Habs are interested in Quentin Byfield. Do you see a good fit with this LA player in Montreal? Well, I don't think LA's given him up, but yeah, I think it would be a great fit.
Oh, there are not too many teams you wouldn't fit on.
Yeah.
So I don't see LA doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe they do, but I don't know.
Building around him, not away from him.
Yeah. Here's, they've got a Pierre-Luc Dubois situation that's not gone very well. They've got an Anse Kopitar situation that he's not getting any younger. So they're going to have room for him to fit in there.
Mm-hmm.
At the center ice, he's playing wing more times than not right now. But
yeah,
I can't see them being in a rush to move him.
I think if anything, they're looking for more centers, Pierre.
I don't think they're looking for less. I agree.
Yeah. All right. Well, listen, we want to thank George Laraque for joining us here on the Eye Test today. He was great. Fun guy, always has been.
Yep.
Thank our production crew. Thank everyone in the comments section for all your questions, and Shane for that video question. Great as always. And for you, Pierre McGuire, I'm Jimmy Murphy signing off on the Eye Test on the Sick Podcast Network.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Eye Test with Pierre McGuire and Jimmy Murphy on YouTube, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. Brought to you by TCS Customs and Logistics. Moving pieces, delivering peace of mind.